And I am live. Welcome to the Blathering Boomer. Yeah, the that meme you see up there is was a bit of a social experiment I tried, and the experiment failed miserably. I thought that putting those words up on my Facebook page were an innocent enough commentary, but apparently they were not. It's up there again, except I've shut down the comments. Some of the comments I got were really, really hateful. And the hateful comments came from some of the most supposedly tolerant, individualist people that I've ever known. And it really, really did make me sad. I know better. I know better than to post on Facebook anything other than grandchildren and puppies and the like. Anyway, our fearless leader, nobody, is watching right now. I got 0 watchers. I just tied the world's record for the fewest watchers on a live stream in the history of live streams. Hopefully that'll change as we go. But I don't care. I'm still going to say what I got to say because I will eventually download this, edit it, and come up with something worth sharing. So if you're not watching now, which you're definitely not because I have 0 watchers, hopefully you'll be watching later. So I'm just gonna keep on going as if I have people watching, and I'm gonna present my next thing. So let's stop the screen there. Oh, there's me. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, it's almost time. I know it's almost time, but I whenever I get the beard small, I end up with this thing, and I hate this thing. I hate this thing. I really do. So anyway, let's we're going to talk a bit about voter shaming. So first, I'm going to bring on Michael Ungerleider, and this is what I said. This is what he, I, we, they, all the pronouns you want, said 4 years ago. This was recorded 2 days after Election Day of the 2020 election. And here's what I had to say back then.
Election Day was 2 days ago. I have a whole lot to say about that, but I kind of want to, be able to share this on Facebook. So I'm really trying to avoid saying anything political that would compromise friendships even more than many of them are already compromised, because some people cannot handle the fact that I don't swim in the same direction that they do. Anyway, so without getting all partisan or anything, I just want to say voter shaming really is a form of fascism. We're supposed to be able to vote our conscience, our vote is our sacred, whatever you want to call it, if it's even sacred. It's the backbone of democracy. It's all the slogans we talked about. And to completely disrespect somebody else's choice is just wrong, in my opinion. So I don't blame anybody for voting differently than I did. I don't blame anybody for supporting people that I don't support or not supporting people I do support. But I do heavily blame people who can't handle other people's opinions. Sorry. And if that's too much for you, sorry about that too. See you on the other side. And basically, we want the same things. Really, my friends who disagree with me and I, we want clean air. We want clean water. We want peace, right? Peace. You remember peace? Remember when peace was cool? We want free and fair elections. We want every legal vote to count. And if we're not on the same page with that, we're probably not on the same page, period. But assuming that all this is true, we just have different paths of getting there. This is like two religions arguing with each other. It's ridiculous. I have my reasons for feeling the way I feel, and I think that they're very thoughtful and nuanced and logical. And I'd be happy to discuss my views, which I'm not saying what they are now, with anybody. I just don't want to get into a bunch of name calling and ad hominem attacks. So anyway. How I got here politically is a long, long journey. And I started off in the same place as so many people that I've known for so long. And at a certain intersection, everybody went one way and I went the other way. And I think I went the right way. And I think they went the easy way. Because it really is easier to not be the only one in the room that everybody disagrees with.
Yes, it really is easy to not be the only one in the room that everybody disagrees with. And I have very much been there ever since 2016, ever since I refused to vote for Hillary Clinton and voted third party. I was not going to vote for the lesser of two evils. And I considered both Hillary and Donald Trump at the time to be evils. So I voted for Jill Stein, who I thought at that point was the person I would trust the most to my grandchildren. And so I said at the beginning, I see a couple of people watching now. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's two's definitely more than zero by a lot. And if you missed the beginning of that, what I was saying was, I made a comment about Facebook and how it's not safe to say things on Facebook. And again, yesterday, I posted this on Facebook, and much to my horror, there were a couple of decent comments, but most of the comments were really, really angry, really nasty, really, basically saying that if you voted the way they didn't want you to vote, you were an evil person. And I'm sorry, I can't abide that, especially coming from the people it came from. Because again, these are supposedly some of the most tolerant, individualist, respectful people, that I've ever known. Theoretically, people have just gone crazy. They've gone absolutely nuts over Trump being elected. Now, a big problem they have, and I understand, people are upset about Roe v. Wade. People want to make Donald Trump the face of Roe v. Wade being repealed, and I get that. Excuse me. And let me get my pretty face up there full screen now that I drank my water. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. I'm prone to doing that. Oh yeah, it's stop the screen. There I am again. Hey, how's everybody? So and the silver lining of Trump's victory in 2016 was that I couldn't abide Hillary, and I gotta admit, I was kind of hoping Trump would win, not because I wanted Trump to win. It was because I wanted the Democrats to understand that by losing to a game show host, by losing to somebody who wasn't a serious politician, a foul-mouthed buffoon, in my opinion, back then, who was supported. Again, I'm going to put myself in the 2016 mindset. I felt that the people who supported Trump were the frat boys, the NASCAR people, and the evangelicals. No offense to any of them. You're all who you are, and we just don't travel in the same circles. But I couldn't relate to any of it. I was walking my dog one day in 2016, and some frat boys. I live near a college campus. Some frat boys pulled up, and they stopped their car and they yelled out to me, "Trump is king!" And me being the Brooklyn person that I am, I mooned them, patted myself on the butt, and said, "Yeah, here's his kingdom." That's what I thought of Trump in 2016. And I realized people are upset with me for celebrating his win this year. It was a very long journey from 2016 to 2024. A lot has changed. A lot has changed in my outlook. Nothing has changed in my personality. Nothing has changed in my basic sense of right and wrong. I'm all for truth. I'm all for justice. I'm all for free speech. I'm definitely for peace. I'm pro-choice. I'm actually pro-choice. So yeah, people want to make Trump the face of why Roe v. Wade was repealed. But I'm going to counter that with my own argument. And basically, I bounced this off a couple of people, and nobody seemed to disagree. So first, let me give the image of one of the reasons we don't have Roe v. Wade anymore. Ooh, boo. Nobody likes him, right? Oh, that's one of the great things about this year, by the way, is that he is stepping down. Him and all 7 of his chins are stepping down as the Republican leader. He's not a leader. He's a politician. And if you've heard any of these podcasts, you know what I think about the difference between a leader and a politician. This man is a politician posing as a leader. The fact is, and yeah, At the time, I was a fan of Obama. I've become a non-fan of Obama. That's a separate conversation. But Obama had like 9 months left in his presidency, and there was a Supreme Court vacancy, and Obama wanted to fill the vacancy righteously. He was the president of the United States, for better or for worse. And this man here blocked that, and that was wrong. That was absolutely wrong. And my son pointed out to me the hypocrisy, and he's right, that when Trump was president, with less time to go in his term, this guy approved Trump's appointment. So I'm all for consistency. I'm all for even-handedness. I'm all for following the law, and but I'm not all for bending the law to your own purpose. And what McConnell did in 2016 was bend the law to his own purpose, and block Merrick Garland from being considered for the Supreme Court. Now, that being said, I'm no fan of Merrick Garland, and I think it would have been a nightmare for him to be on the Supreme Court. However, I will say he had a right to be considered. He absolutely had a right to be considered. So that is bad guy number one in terms of why we don't have Roe v. Wade. So go away, Mitch. And am I back? I'm back. Now, let's get a little bit theoretical, because I'm going to show a picture of even more so why we don't have Roe v. Wade anymore. And this is the image I want you to see of why we don't have Roe v. Wade. And it's right there. It's her. Now, stay with me on this. Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 2016 stepped down in disgrace from being the chairwoman of the DNC because she was blatantly rigging the primary against Bernie Sanders. In the course of all that, it became so dirty. A lot got exposed about Hillary Clinton. And I dare say Hillary Clinton, because of the antics of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and more so because of how Hillary reacted to the antics of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So Debbie, Dirty Debbie, steps down in disgrace from the chairmanship of the DNC. What does Hillary do? Now, if I was advising Hillary, I would have said, throw Debbie under the bus, throw her under the bus. You want to win this election, you need to show a sense of integrity and throw her under the bus. Make it comfortable, but under the bus. No, Hillary didn't do that. Hillary made her honorary campaign manager. And at that moment, I believe she lost tens of thousands of votes, mine included. I might have voted for Hillary if all this bullshit didn't happen. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz is behind it. So where do we go from there? Okay, so my feeling is that because of this woman, Hillary was unelectable, and therefore, ergo entonces, was going to lose to any Republican who ran against her. It was Trump. It could have been Ted Cruz. It could have been Marco Rubio with his tiny hands. God, he might be Secretary of State. I hope not, but I don't want to stray from the topic. Any one of them would have beaten Hillary. And any Republican who became the president would have filled the Supreme Court vacancies over the next 4 years, and he would have appointed, and any Republican would have appointed conservative justices to the Supreme Court. And therefore, by the time 2020 rolled around, the Supreme Court would have had a conservative majority, and Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned no matter what. So Trump is a lot of things, but responsible solely for Roe v. Wade going away is not on him. It's on Hillary. It's on Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It's on the Democrat Party for failing to put up a candidate that could beat a seemingly completely non-serious candidate in the Republican Party named Donald Trump in 2016. But they brazenly, the hubris was off the charts, and the rest, as they say, is history. So that was then, and once again, I'm going to share the meme that got me in a little, but probably has gotten me in trouble. I just don't realize, I don't know yet the extent of the trouble, but based on the comments I saw yesterday. So what I did was I put it back up there today, but I turned off comments. So and I kind of borrowed a moment from Trump, and I captioned it with "as I was saying," and nobody can comment, and that's fine. And actually, let me see, have I gotten any likes on that at this point? Let me refresh my Facebook page, and well, my girlfriend and my daughter have gave me loves on it, and you know what? That's what's important. So I'm back, and let's see. Okay, so let's talk about what happened this year. Let me get rid of Debbie. Bye bye, Debbie. Because people really are going nuts. And let's take a little tour of some of my bookmarked Twitter pages and see just how nuts people are going. So first of all, there's this one. Now, I'm a grandfather, and I have 6 grandchildren, and every single one of them, at some point, present, past, and future, are going to be between the age of 2 and 9. And what I do is I come at them and I say, toes, 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 toes. And they run away, they hide their feet, the whole thing. Well, I found this to be very inspiring because our soon to be former president took it to a new level. Wow. Okay, so toes, toes, toes to be sure. Now, some people are going pretty crazy. This guy is an administrator at the University of Oregon, and here's what he had to say. Let's make him full screen and listen to this. This is one of many, many that are all over the internet right now.
I'm done crying. My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person, and I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. You can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job. Do better in life. Get a fucking education. Do something. Because you are fucking stupid. And I hope you go jump off of a fucking bridge. I'm done crying.
No, and you're
My
also done
sadness is
talking,
over.
Holmes. Okay, that's enough for you.
My anger has set in.
I don't care about your anger. Quiet. Okay, so what else do we have? Oh, we have this woman who apparently was a little premature in her celebration. And let's share her little story here.
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye indeed. Wow. Well, I hope her hangover wasn't too awful. And by the way, speaking of crazy, how about this?
I'm not sure if you heard me. We cannot and we will not give up this fight. That's right. Come on. Come on. That's right. We cannot and we will not give up this fight. That's right. All right, you can sit down now. I'm not sure if you heard me.
Already sitting down, Mrs. Waltz. Wow. That could have been the first lady. Let that sink in for a second. That could have been the first. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Now, and again, this is the person who left her windows open so she could smell the burning rubber during the Minnesota riots during the George Floyd situation. But I'll give her credit for one thing. You know, I think she's auditioning for a role at SeaWorld because she knows how to clap like a seal. So we'll give her that much. Okay, I'm told by a few people, by Sheila, by Stephanie, by Dawn, I got to be aloha. So I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop. Stop. There. Nothing but good vibes for the rest of this podcast. Well, maybe. So yeah, I have a viral, to me, anytime I get more than 3 likes on a Twitter post, it's viral. But I have one that's going crazy today. It's still going crazy. I just got 3 more notifications on it. 24. Oh, let me see what we got here. 205 likes, 47 retweets. That is some kind of record. That's the other than the me telling Olive about Tulsi's new book that I did a few months ago that actually got liked and followed by Tulsi Gabbard herself. Anyway, so what happened was Liberal Hive Mind tweeted, "Do you accept Tulsi Gabbard as a conservative now that she joined the Republican Party?" And my response was, part of the reason a lot of us support Tulsi Gabbard is she refuses labels. Rather than go by liberal versus conservative, try going with truth teller versus liar, and you'll know all you need to know. So that is my viral tweet. I'm proud of it. I am definitely a whore for likes. I can't help it. I cannot help it, and I don't help it. All right, so postmortem. Trump's been elected. I'm admittingly disappointed that, well, when he made his acceptance speech, he was up there on stage with all kinds of people, and I'm a hardcore Tulsi supporter, as anybody who watches this regularly knows, and I was disappointed that when he got up there and thanked this person and that person and that person and this person, he never said the name Tulsi. That was my first sign of, And right now, Marco Rubio, with his small hands and all, is apparently about to become the Secretary of State. And a lot of people, myself and very much included, really thought Tulsi should be Secretary of State. Her being the face of this country on the world stage would, I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? She's the epitome of aloha. Aloha being respect and strength. Who is more respectable and strong? Combination, multiply one than that by the other, than Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, yeah, I know I'm biased, but it's a well-found. She's earned my bias. Anyway, I'm going to replay something from last week because I was live for 4.5 hours during the election coverage, blathering away. It's on their it's on my YouTube page now. I've edited out all the parts where I go silent for like 20 minutes at a time sometimes. And so the 4.5 hour live stream is now like a 2-hour podcast. I'm going to try to trim out because you talk for 2 hours, you're going to say some stupid things, especially a guy like me. So I definitely said some stupid things. I have a comment from Ellen. Tulsi was probably disappointed too. She had a strange smile the next day. She could do something else that's important. I think Rubio is on some kind of major international committee. And I'll also say Rubio is very strong when it comes to Israel. I saw him. I saw a clip of him on TV today. As far as the defense secretary goes, okay, so I like to separate what I hear from what I know. So what I hear is that in order to be Secretary of Defense, you have to have not been active military for 7 years. And I think Tulsi's been non-active for maybe 7 weeks. So I don't think she qualifies legally to be defense secretary. I don't know. Again, it's what I hear. I really try to have the integrity to separate what I hear from what I know. But I did see a clip today of Rubio walking down the hall, and some pro-Hamas person stopped him and had a question about the civilians, and he blamed the civilian deaths in Gaza squarely on the shoulders of Hamas, which is exactly where it belongs. And he basically shut down this person who thought they were getting Rubio in a gotcha moment. So Rubio, being unquestionably pro-Israel, does win him a big piece of my heart, but he's still not Tulsi, and I'm hoping it's Tulsi. We'll see. And okay. So I have a little context on that. Thank you, Ellen. That was a Code Pink harasser. Yeah, I used to like Code Pink. I used to like them back when they were harassing Alexander Ocasio-Steinberg, whatever her name is, at her rallies. They would shout her down. This is way before October 7th. They would shout her down and then get thrown out, and then another person would stand up and shout her down. It was interesting technique they used, and I guess I'm a bit hypocritical because I like them when they're doing things I like, and I don't like them when they're doing things I don't like. And these days I don't like Code Pink because they have become Code Hamas Pink. And again, if you watch this whole thing, or if you know the theme of this, I'm really, really against, that meme I put up there about ending friendships over politics. I really do mean that, with one exception, and that exception is Hamas. If you're a Hamas supporter, I'm sorry, we can't be friends. And I realize that could seem hypocritical when I say things like, you voted for Harris, I voted for Trump, we could still be friends. And by the way, I don't give a fuck who anybody voted for. Again, as I said in the clip that I played, you don't support the people I support, fine. You support people I don't support, fine. Just have respect for my opinions, because I respect your opinions. So that's all good. But I draw the line when it comes to Hamas. I draw the line when it comes to October 7th. I draw the line when there are pogroms in Amsterdam. Did you see that shit? I don't have a clip right now to show you. I'll go into it more next week, more in depth, and when more comes out. But apparently, after a soccer game in Amsterdam, there was a very, very planned attack where Jews were just hunted down the streets and beaten. I mean, what the hell? What the hell? And they keep on saying that pay attention to Europe, because if we keep going the way we're going, that's going to be here in a couple of years. Well, hopefully with this election, the border will be shut down and there'll be some intelligent deportation going on. There's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. There need to be deportations, but that doesn't mean we deport everybody with brown skin, like Joy Reid is trying to say that we're trying to do. Man, those people on MSNBC, I hear they lost half their audience, that they dropped by 50% after the election. Now, it's natural to stop watching commentary. For example, I have 4 watchers right now. And last week I had 22. So after the election's over, it's natural to stop paying attention to political stuff. But MSNBC is in such bad shape that Comcast is considering selling it. And then there was this little rumor on Twitter that Elon Musk might buy it. And I would love to see that. Heads would explode. Oh, no, Ungerleider. Heads exploding is not aloha. It's not aloha. Namaste. All MSNBC watchers. I remember being in an argument with people 3 or 4 years ago, and they started quoting Rachel Maddow in the argument, and I realized I just needed to leave. Anyway, I'm blathering. I want to get to the point. I want to replay the moments leading up to the moment when Trump took Pennsylvania, because I was telling a story and I got interrupted by the taking of Pennsylvania. So I'm going to complete the story this week. It involves my mother and and her death in 2011. So let me share this very short clip of the minute and a half leading up to Trump taking Pennsylvania and pretty much ending the election. This is my 14th presidential election since I became voting age. I voted for McGovern in 72 because I really thought there was a better chance he'd stop the war in Vietnam than Nixon. I had to sit out the 76 election because I was not eligible to vote that year. That is a long story which will be told in future podcasts. 1980, I actually voted for John Anderson because I wasn't real happy about the Iranian hostage crisis, and Ronald Reagan scared the shit out of me, so I voted third party. 84 was the year that I actually actively campaigned, 6 weeks on the road in a bus, campaigning for nobody for president. So when the time came, I wrote in nobody in 84. 88, my life was kind of falling apart. That's another long story for future podcasts. I didn't vote. That's the only time I didn't vote. 92, 96, I voted for Clinton. 2000, I voted for Gore. 2004, I voted for Kerry. 2008, I voted for Obama. 2012, well, my mother died in 2011, and she fell down. Holy shit, they just called Pennsylvania. You heard it live. I heard it live. I'm going to turn on the sound on my TV because they're probably screaming. Pennsylvania has gone red, folks. Blathering boomer, you heard it here first. So that was last week. So I was in the middle of telling that story. First of all, I got to correct myself. There were 2 times I didn't vote. In 76, I was in the slam, and that's a whole other story. But what an interesting night that was. The guards kind of let us out of our rooms so we could all be in the TV lounge watching the election returns. And the inmates, pretty much to a man, were rooting for Carter, and the guards, pretty much to a man, were rooting for Ford. And the results came in, back then, you actually got the results on election day. We did it this year too, of course, but it's become the exception, not the rule. But it was a good moment. The prisoners gave the guards a good-natured ribbing, and the guards took it like men. It was all fine. Nobody had any repercussions. It wasn't like the movie Sleepers after they won the football game. So that was 76. At 88, I was spiraling out of control on my way to rehab, which is also a very long story, nothing to do with the elections. But those are the 2 years I didn't vote, 76 and 88. So I was starting to tell the story about what happened in 2012. So in 2011, my mother, 85 years old at the time, took a fall, broke her hip, went to the hospital, and was getting surgery on her hip. And I was very, very worried that she wasn't going to survive the surgery. So she was on the gurney. They were about to wheel her into the operating room. And I was standing next to the gurney. And I said to my mother very seriously, Mom, if you survive this surgery, I will vote for the Republican of your choice in the 2012 election. Now, mind you, at the time, I was a vocal, passionate Obama supporter. And my mother lived on a steady diet of caffeine, nicotine, and Fox News. So she was all about the Republicans, but she did not like Mitt Romney. So again, it was still 2011, and the nominations hadn't happened yet. Obviously, Obama was going to get in, but and then after saying to her, "I'll vote for the Republican of your choice in 2012 if you survive the surgery," I drew closer to her and I whispered to her, "And you better hope the surgeon is not a Democrat." And my mother laughed on the gurney on her way into surgery. It's the last time I made my mother laugh. long story short, she survived the surgery, but she didn't survive the rehab. She got pneumonia during her stint in the rehab facility and died a couple of weeks later. But then election day 2012 came around, and I had a promise to keep. Now, it was Mitt Romney against Barack Obama, and my mother hated Mitt Romney. There was no word rhino at the time, but I'm sure if there was, my mother would have called him a rhino. And so what to do? So I remembered that the letter of the promise was, I will vote for the Republican of your choice. So I wrote in Newt Gingrich. So in 2012, Newt Gingrich got at least one vote in California, and that was me in honor of my late mother. So that was 2012. 2016, I get to finish where I was going last week. 2016, I was a big time Bernie supporter. Bernie was going to reform the healthcare situation. Healthcare was killing us. I myself was paying $1,500 a month for shitty healthcare for myself and my daughter. Let's see, 2016, my son was no longer on my health plan. My daughter was. So, but it was expensive and ridiculous, and I objected then, and I object now to even the existence of HMOs. Back again, I'm aging myself. I'm a boomer, but when I was a kid, you got sick, you went to the doctor, and you paid them. You didn't have some company in between you and the doctor, and of course, you want to be insured against disasters. Well, Blue Cross was like $100 a month. If you had to go to the hospital, Blue Cross would kick in. This whole HMO thing, inserting themselves. Look at those big buildings they build, Aetna and all them, Kaiser. They insert themselves between yourself and your actual providers, and they do nothing but take your money. And it's wrong. So Bernie had my support. Plus, Bernie was an independent, which I really resonated with. I thought Bernie was an actual independent. I don't think so anymore. And yes, the doctor also made house calls. I don't remember the visit being $5 cash, but yeah, I remember Dr. Ashley used to come to my house. I didn't like it because he gave me shots sometimes, but yeah, he'd show up with his black medical bag and take care of business. You don't get house calls anymore. It's horrible. So 2016, yeah, I was all about Bernie, and then the nasty stuff happened with the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I refused to vote for Hillary, and I talked about that pretty extensively at the beginning of this podcast. 2020, that Democrat primary was a train wreck. They were demanding in 2016 that I vote for the lesser of two evils, and my position was no. It's evil against evil, and the lesser of two evils is still evil. I voted for Jill Stein, and I lost many, many, many friends because of that. 2020, I'm like, fine, I'll vote for the lesser of two evils. So I voted for Trump because this whole thing with Biden and Ukraine and Hunter and the laptop and the flow of money, and Biden scared. But again, I consider them both to be evils, but the disparity in the difference in the level of evil tilted the scale to Trump. Plus, I wanted to say the line, hey, you told me to vote for the lesser of two evils. So I did. What's the problem? I voted for the lesser of two evils. Well, people got pretty pissed off. I lost more friendships. I don't have that many left, actually. 2024. Here's the point. Think about this for a second. When the last time the Democrats had a fair and competitive primary? I'll give you a couple seconds to think before I give you the spoiler. All right, you ready? 2008. 2008 was the last time there was actually a fair and competitive primary. Think about that. 2008 was Obama against Hillary. And again, this is what I've surmised, put together. I don't have this as a fact, but it seems pretty clear to me that Hillary became Secretary of State, that making Hillary Secretary of State was the price Obama paid for her dropping out and endorsing him. So we ended up with Hillary as Secretary of State, Obama's president. 2012, Obama was having an apparently successful presidency. so there wasn't any real primary. 2016 was the nonsense with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton. 2020 was a train wreck where Obama, interesting question, and the person who's been commenting, Ellen, raised this question, and I don't have an answer. I've been saying Obama's been the puppet master, but she raised the possibility that maybe Obama is the puppet. Either way, whether it was Obama pulling the strings or Obama pulling the strings on behalf of those who are pulling his strings, everybody dropped out at once except Bernie and Tulsi. And Tulsi was being banned from the debates. Every time Tulsi would qualify for a debate, they would change the rules. It was so blatant. And what the fuck are superdelegates anyway? Superdelegates, that's a euphemism for party insider elites that we don't think you have the right to pick your own candidate. So the Democrats are a train wreck. 2020 wasn't a real primary. Joe Biden was a distant fourth before South Carolina. And then again, this is opinion, not fact, but I think they want somebody they can control. And I think Biden was never a serious candidate before that. He ran a couple of times. He never got more than 2 or 3%. So there was Biden. And now 2024, that's this year, right? 2024, they outdid themselves. I didn't think they could outdo themselves, but they outdid themselves. They pulled this quiet coup against Joe Biden. They lie for months, maybe years, about his mental acuity. They pressure him into dropping out. And again, I'm speculating, but I'm speculating on stuff that seems pretty clearly true. And then they install Kamala Harris. And a big reason for that is if they bypassed her, they would have lost all those progressive votes, because they would have, if they put in a guy like Gavin Newsom, they would have been accused of racism and sexism, which now we're accused of that by not electing her. So they put in, once again, an unelectable candidate. And by the way, this history of unelectable candidates goes back pretty far. Dukakis, decent guy, I guess, but completely unelectable against George Bush. Mondale didn't have a prayer against Reagan. The Democrats really don't have a bench, tell you the truth. I mean, I can't think of a single Democrat, honestly, at this moment, can't think of a single Democrat that I would support in any election at this point. And that's not to say I'm a Republican. I'm an independent. But if you would have told me even a few years ago that the Republicans would not only take the presidency, the Senate, and the House, and that I would say that was a good thing, I would have told you to seek help and quickly and long-term care. So anyway, that's what happened with my mother. That's what happened in the rest of the elections. And people are really upset right now, and I understand they're upset. Hey, I'm pro-choice, but Donald Trump is not the face of the repealing of Roe v. Wade. So I think that's about all I have. Yeah, that's about all I have clipped and saved, and I've run out of things to say. That after only 45 minutes, wow. Well, with editing power, I'll probably trim this down to about 30, and I guess the only thing left to say is the boomer has blathered.